meeting of the Orangetown Plan and Zoning Commission. Let's begin by having those seated at the table introduce themselves, please.
Tammy Trentalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Jack Demerjen, Assistant Zoning Officer.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Paul Denise, Zoning Administrator and Enforcement Officer.
And I'm Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Okay, first item on tonight's agenda is a matter I guess we should have taken care of at our organizational meeting in January, but better late than never. It's the election of officers per Section 7 of the Planning and Zoning Commission bylaws. The bylaws require that in every even-numbered year at our first meeting in January, we elect officers. The officers are the chairman, the vice chairman, and the secretary. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I think maybe if the people holding those positions are willing to continue serving, maybe we could entertain a slate of officers by motion from someone.
I think you could do that.
What positions are there? Because I don't remember.
You're the
Oh, I read.
secretary.
You're the
The
secretary.
secretary.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to refresh your
So I'm
memory.
gonna stick with him.
Well, there's only three positions. There's only three, the bylaws
In
only,
your absence, we'll let Tom read the notices.
the bylaws call for a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary. So,
I would like to present a slate of officers for our consideration. Ozzie Parenti, chairman. No. Paul Kaplan, secretary.
and Judy Smith?
Oh, yeah, Judy Smith
All right.
as vice chairman.
And I assume everyone's willing to continue to serve in those capacities? Okay,
But can I
I
change my
am.
seat
You're welcome to. There's a seat right there.
Right over there.
back there?
All right, so we have a motion proposing a slate of officers, they being Judy as vice chairman, myself as chairman, and Paul as secretary. Someone prepared to second that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, Tom seconds the motion. Any discussion regarding the slate of officers? Okay. All right, we have a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So I think that takes care of that, right, Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
The number.
All right, next item on the agenda, we have minutes from the January 31 and February 4 meetings. The January 31 meeting was the special meeting we held. As you know, Tom Tarenti and I recused ourselves from participating on that matter. I guess I can ask one question regarding the minutes, though. In the third full paragraph, second line, there's reference to competence level of the wall. Is that a correct term?
Compaction.
Okay, so maybe we'll
Thank
correct
you.
that. And it,
Oh, wait.
is that right?
Yeah, no. I think that the inspector was actually opining on the
Integrity,
the constructor's ability to build a wall following the structural drawings. I mean,
oh, so
so
competence,
it was
so competency.
competence. Yes.
Okay.
That
Probably.
it lacked the required level of competency in construction, and then in the follow-up,
Later on in that, talks about compaction.
they didn't perform the required compaction tests on the backfill as it went up
Determine
against
the
that wall.
competency.
So
Well, the competency, I think, went to the
the,
physical, it's not going to win any beauty prizes.
well, it seems like it does need a correction there.
Yes, it does.
So I just wondered what the, and in the first line it says Ken Thomas, property owner, stated that the engineer performed a sieve analysis. I just wondered, there's a bunch of engineers involved, I think, or some in.
So in order, my understanding was that in order to relocate the pile of soil that was used to raise the level, they had to perform a sieve analysis on the site they were taking it from before it was allowed to be transferred onto that site.
Okay.
Was that correct, Paul?
Yes.
I was just questioning, the reference to the word engineer. I wondered who that was, which engineer?
Usually that'd be a third-party
Yeah, I think,
testing
I
lab.
think it was
Or
his.
the applicant's engineer?
The applicant's
Okay,
engineer.
maybe we
Maybe
could
put
say
that
that
in.
then.
Okay.
But however you think we ought to fix the next sentence, it's up to you.
Do we need to fix it at all?
I don't know. It seemed like it was.
But the competence level doesn't, it should relate to the construction.
Like the structural integrity, maybe, or?
Well, the plan may be fine, but if you don't follow the plan,
It's not gonna work,
because,
right?
yeah, right.
Well, the question is competence the right word to use there?
It's the word he used.
Okay, well then
Oh,
that's where,
It's
all right.
fine, it was, yeah. 'cause
Okay,
it's
all right.
Our building inspector.
Right. That was all I noticed, and I wasn't even there, so.
good job.
Anybody have anything else? All right, if that's the case, then is somebody prepared to make a motion to approve the minutes?
You got anything else?
I'll move that we approve the motion, the minutes for the January 31st, 2020 special meeting minutes as amended.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I abstain. Tom abstains. All right, next are the minutes for the February 4th, 2020 meeting. Those looked fine to me, Tammy. Just, again, one thing on the last full paragraph on page 1 starts, ZEO Denise stated, and then the next sentence, it says, "It is a transitional rental." Did you mean transient? Transient rental or transitional?
Transient?
Not quite sure. I guess it would be transient.
That's what I thought, but,
Yeah, transient.
other than that, I had no other changes to suggest. Okay, everybody all set with the minutes, or anything further? All right, somebody prepared to move
I'll make a
acceptance?
motion that we approve the February 4th, 2020 minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Kaplan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, next item on our agenda is old business. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up under that subject?
I just want to follow up with Paul and see the status of the removal of the Todd district as the landowner has changed.
Well, I don't really have anything new to report, but
If we wanted to move forward, it would need to be noticed?
it would need to be noticed and referred over to the regional planning agency.
I
We
think,
need a
I
vote.
thought we had decided to do that at the last meeting, but maybe not, but let's do that. As long as everybody agrees.
Yeah.
No reason to have.
To have it out there?
Right, I think it, Paul.
And I'm
probably-
assuming you want to change it.
Back
To LI2.
Right, so I think it requires, one, a repeal of the transit-oriented development district regulations, and two, an amendment to
So we're also gonna-
to the
okay.
map, to
That's
the
correct.
zoning map.
Right.
And
What's the
If-
status of the application that went under there and that was approved?
I think it's good till
Till
September.
September.
This
but-
September?
Right. But the land has since been purchased by Yale.
Oh,
So
good.
the gentleman who has the approval doesn't no longer
No
owns
longer,
the
oh,
land.
that'll work out fine.
So there's just
Okay.
no sense in leaving it out there.
Yeah, I didn't know
So-
Yale approved it.
just getting back to the map for a second, what is currently transit-oriented development district does not coincide with all of the land eligible for transit-oriented development
That's correct.
district.
That's still.
But those are
LI2.
still LI2.
All right,
just
but
that
it's
one.
all, my point is, it's not just the current transit-oriented development district, but it's everything eligible as well.
It's just eligible. It's not, it's still zoned LI2.
All right, still, all right, so what do we,
So you're deleting the regulations,
yeah,
which would not make any other parcel eligible.
right, and what are
for
we
the
doing with
TODD.
the map, though?
The map, we would change it from TODD to LI2.
Just that one parcel.
All right, and the rest of it, we're sure is the fact, I remember there being something on the map
It
saying,
was wrong, the map was wrong. We amended the map because it said TODD overlay,
And we never.
and it was confusing.
Right.
And it was not accurate.
all right, so what I want to make sure we get to is, you know, that all of what's eligible, including.
That's going to be eliminated
It's all
once you
gonna be
delete.
LI2.
Once you delete those regulations.
All right, so you'll craft a notice,
The only
be
que-
on our own initiative, on the commission's initiative to do those things.
Yes, but there is one little but, that, well, you know, it's purchased by Yale, and we have another district that provides for Yale-type uses that are already in existence on their other parcels.
They may,
Well, they have the right to come in.
Wait a minute, in the LI2?
Not in the
No,
LI2, it's
LI4 or
called
something,
a
right? Isn't it?
LI4 district, I
Right.
think it is.
What's that got to do with,
Well,
Well-
Yale owns it, and they may say, we don't want to change to LI2. We prefer it to be changed to the LI4.
then they'll come in,
Okay,
Right.
then they'll come in and
And ask for it.
they'll make their presentation.
okay.
uh,
But it's
on the
going to
night.
be, it's going to be noticed for LI2, that's all.
Right, because that's
That's-
our initiative.
Right.
We watch these things. If they
Okay.
are interested, they'll come and talk to us.
Okay.
And the only thing I think we should do is, I'm not looking for the town attorney's approval for this action, just his review of the notice.
Okay.
Just want to make sure the notice is right.
Okay.
We don't create any issues that come back to haunt us later on because the notice was deficient in some way.
Okay, we'll get it out tomorrow.
And just
Would-
to
would-
be efficient, if we could have the public hearing on a night with other public hearings, you know.
also,
Do we want to reach out at all to Yale? Just let them know what's happening? Troubleshoot it?
I have no objection to that.
I don't know. Is that something that we do ever? I don't remember doing it.
I don't think there's an issue
Well,
or
let
a
me ask
problem
you,
with it.
let me ask you this, do adjoining owners get notified
No, they do not.
on a zone change?
No, they do not.
But don't.
I think we should.
There's a lot of pros, but there's also a lot of cons. You know what, it's very easy, if there's any little error involved in the zone change with notification, it can result in overturning. I'm not saying, I'm not arguing against it, but that's one of the things to consider.
But there's no requirement right now, or hasn't been a requirement, that the adjoining owners get notification of a zone change.
That's correct.
All right.
Doesn't affect their property.
Would you know who to reach out to at Yale?
I could find that out.
I mean, I see no
I mean, the first
objection to that
selectman
unless,
office could probably help.
They own the property, they own the adjacent property. I don't see why we wouldn't.
right.
Okay, I'll get that going. We have a little time involved between when the notice is going to appear and the referral to the regional planning agencies. So we need 35 days, and I only need about,
We've done this before.
so we have time.
We've talked about this, I'm getting deja vu. We've talked about this.
Yes, we've talked about this notice issue before, although the context was letting neighbors know that a zone
Yeah,
change
no
was going
question.
on.
Right.
And the resolution to that was, while it seemed fair and reasonable, it wasn't necessarily in our best interest.
Well, I'm thinking about it now, because now they're gonna be able to pull up, how come you reached out to
Well-
Yale first, and now you didn't do that on this particular application?
Right.
It's a
in the
good point.
future?
Okay.
Yeah. So there is
We
something
may-
to be said for consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand, unless there's a,
All right, well, listen, there's no reason to delay in getting this done. So let's, let's get it out there.
My only comment with regard to notification, if you lived over there and weren't aware of it, you had to be in a cave.
oh, yeah.
It was,
Pretty much.
I'm talking about
Turkey Hill.
yes.
Yeah, no, I get that, but
yeah.
I think that we should try to be consistent. We're not required to do
Okay.
it, and I don't want it to be used against us later on, that we did it on some, but not others.
Right,
Exactly.
that's a good point. Right, but let's,
I'll get the referral out tomorrow.
let's get the notice put together, reviewed by
Vinnie?
town attorney,
Uh-huh.
and get the ball rolling on that. Because Judy's right, I mean, there's really no reason to keep that hanging around at this point. All right, anything else under the topic of old business? All right, how about under the topic of new business, item 4 on the agenda?
I have a couple items I'm going to care, that are kind of new, but I was going to do it under my report.
All right. All right, so anything else under new business? Okay, then, item 5 on the agenda is a report of the zoning enforcement officer, Paul.
Yeah, we had a request from the finance department for the land use agencies to take a look at our fee schedules. I know Jack did that for wetlands, and I did contact some area towns, and we were pretty much in line dating back to 2010, which was the last time that we did our fee schedule. The only guidance that we have is that the case law says that we have to price our fees based upon the cost that we incur for these applications. So I did increase a number of the fees here. I think you've got 2 sheets. You've got our effective fees dating back to 2010. And I can just go over them really fast.
Paul, how did you determine, in order to comply with the statute?
Three things. I contacted area towns that were similar in size to us, the cost of our legal notices, and the cost of our stenographer. And I'll go through all these too. Our site plan application was, I don't know if everyone was previously $730. I recommended an increase of $20 up to $750. Although it doesn't require a public hearing or a legal notice, well, actually does if it's approved, but not a number of legal notices. There is a number of inspections that were involved, and that's kind of how we priced it out back in 2010. A special permit, that should be increased to $750 from $580 to reflect the stenographer and the cost of the legal notice. Amend the zoning regulations and map, that also should be increased to $750. The costs for these public hearings are about the same between the stenographer and the length of the legal notice. Same thing for temporary special permits for earth, from $480 up to $750 to be consistent with the cost for a stenographer and our legal notice. Sedimentation and erosion control application, that does not require a public hearing, but in line with some other communities, it should be up to about $350.
And inspections, right?
And inspections, yes. Application for the conversion of single-family dwellings. We previously charged $230, and the commission did that to try to give the residential homeowner and elderly a break and perhaps provide an incentive. But I think we still need to go up on that. And my thinking was $500, it's still not the total of $750 that's normally charged. But again, you can make a determination on that. By the way, if you agree with this fee schedule or you want to examine it more, and once you finalize it, it does have to go to the Board of Selectmen. Special permit sale for agricultural products. It was $405. That's somewhat antiquated. I recommend, again, $750. Planned residential development base fee was $580. I have 600 here, that should be 750. Again, sign application, an increase of $5 up to 200, that's about in line with what other communities are charging. Construction of a single-family dwelling from 355 to 400. That fee is a little bit less than some other communities, but the other communities build into their fees sewer tie-ins and other things that we do not. So I would say 400 is good. Application for an addition to an existing dwelling or accessory structure in a residential district, and that would be to go from 155 to 175. And then permits fees are doubled if we're not, if they come in late or an individual fails to get a permit, we'll charge them double for that. Every fee, land use fee, there is a $60 surcharge that is required by the state of Connecticut. $58 of that $60 goes to the State Conservation Commission. The town gets back $2. So every application is built in a $60 fee. What's that? $2 we keep, yeah. I don't know if you want to think about this until the next meeting, or if you want me to refer it.
Well,
Yeah.
the only thing, the special permit application for public sale or processing of agricultural products was 405, and it jumped to 750, and those are generally the farmers. Does 750 seem a little high, or what's your basis?
Well, you have all the existing farms now. I think maybe, you can think about if you wanted to have it less to encourage more farms. But all the existing farms have been covered when that fee was first
They all got it.
discussed. They all came in under that. But if you feel you want to have an incentive to have more farms, you can go with a reduced rate. I think that's the thinking with the reduced fees.
I mean, the fees currently in effect have been in effect for 10 years.
Yes. We were a little on the high side. We were the first community to really, back then anyway.
But they,
Been untouched since 2010,
Since
and now they're in
2010.
line with everybody else around locally.
With
With our-
the
with the-
increases, I think we're charging what we should to reflect the costs that we incur.
Okay.
I don't know that I need to give it any further consideration, but you looking for a motion?
I'm
or-
looking for a motion, and then if you're satisfied with it, I can refer it to the Board of Selectmen.
Or are we all prepared to vote on it now, or do you want, does anybody want more time to digest? Okay. Well then,
I'll make a motion to
All right.
accept.
all right, Tom moves that we
Second.
accept the suggested fees revised February 2020. It's been seconded by Paul. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I mean, we're not the final word on that anyway.
No, the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
You've got another, you were copying on some other information with regard to FedEx. They have requested a bond reduction. And they had a very hefty performance bond.
How are they doing up there, Paul?
No problems at all with regard to S&E controls, the operations. I know there was a small issue with I believe, the forms for the foundation once those were done, but that was a building department concern. As far as the site work, I was up there on Friday, and it was a mammoth project. They kept the roads clean, very neat. They're up to date with all their reports. If there's one minor change, they're constantly in touch with me. I think the last time something happened, there was a discovered need to change the location of the subsurface drainage system. They referred it over to us. You approved it as a board. And they're looking for a reduction of 1 million, basically $1,300,000,
Leaving how much?
Yeah,
leaving,
It's like 175.
yes,
175,000, is that
Yes.
sufficient to,
it should be, yes. It's almost completed, site work's there.
I'd love to hear Tom or Kevin weigh in on this. Is it something you want, we want to study before? Well, I didn't mean any, it's not any lawyers on it, that's.
Yeah, I do that right away.
You know, if you want to take a ride up there and just take a look at it.
Well, I
How
mean,
about the trees and the vegetation that's all taken, or?
Actually, the comments on their, the comments on their trees and their buffer has been that the trees might be too big, but I don't, I'd hate to get in a situation,
And too close together.
they're planted in a sequence that the plan delineated, but, it's a tough call if you want to.
Well, how long will we hold
the bond, I mean, our concern would be that the trees would
Will die,
need to be replaced.
On the other hand, they were built in accordance with the approved site plan.
Yeah.
They're just bigger than stated.
So, but I mean, that would be a reason to continue to hold
hold to
the
one
bond.
seventy-five?
You don't have to,
But that's only part of it.
you don't have to keep it at 175. You can say, I want to reduce it to 500,000.
Right,
right now, that would be arbitrary for me. How much,
yeah.
Well, they're saying they only have 175,000 left.
Of site work. That's what the bond secures, completion of the site work.
That's correct.
And you agree with,
getting about,
It looks like, yes, they're 90% there.
So why wouldn't we keep at least some fractional amount more than that?
That's why I suggested if you want to keep 500, might be.
Yeah. I mean,
Big site.
I'd be inclined to do that.
What's the total bond currently?
Total bond was
how much back then from last year?
$4,205,000. No, 4,381,000.
And they're asking for that it be reduced to 1.3 million. So,
No,
No.
175,700.
Oh, oh.
175,000.
They're looking for a reduction request of 4,205,000.
okay.
So if we did, and we have the remaining bond at 500,000.
Mike?
sorry about that. I don't know, it's bad for me. So you would be more comfortable keeping the 500,000 than the 175,700?
Well,
You can keep a million too,
No, I know, like,
We don't
we're not bound to,
Right.
to
you're not bound by anything.
reduce the bond.
And quite frankly, in most cases, unless it's a huge project like this, which there have not been many, we haven't been in the practice of reducing bonds. We have done it.
As the work progresses.
Right, but I would tell you that, do something that you feel comfortable with. We're not bound by it,
Yeah.
But once we release it,
once it's
we've
gone.
released it.
Right.
Yes.
In general, non-cash bonds are usually taken out for a specified time period. You take them out for 6 months, you take them out for a year or something like that. Could we table this to the next meeting, and could you ask them, is there a particular time constraint that you're trying to operate against? Because if you've got a non-cash bond for a specific amount, sometimes you can't just reduce the face value. You have to get a replacement and
Right.
eliminate that one.
And there are more charges associated
Yeah,
with it.
so just,
What type of bond is this, Paul?
Performance bond, type bond.
So it's exactly what you're saying. It's not necessarily a cash, this is not a
yeah,
cash bond.
no, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, crazy talk, okay.
So just find out if
Okay,
there's some
okay.
sort of time constraint that they're operating against, because if the bond, they already paid the fee and it's naturally going to expire in a couple months,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What's our rush? And 2 weeks shouldn't matter. Oh, I mean, unless you guys want to.
Okay. And then finally,
All right, let's put this on the agenda
I'll put on the next agenda.
specifically
Okay.
for next time. Give us a chance to look it over.
And then
a little
finally,
more
with regard to Airbnb, I started looking through the regulations to find where to place language that prohibited Airbnbs in the regulations. And I think I sent you an email
carefully. Yeah,
that we already had some regulations that permits the letting of rooms. And I voiced the concern that we had there in my email to you. One of the things I did was, and I kind of mentioned this at the last meeting, that case law, the time limit for what they call a permanent residency versus daily and weekly rentals, that time period, the magic number seems to be 30 days. So that's why I wrote an additional section 5. I gave that to Vinnie today. He didn't have time to study it, but he's going to get back to me on that. So, we may want to hear back from him first. It may not be as simple as how I've drafted it here, or it may be. I'm not quite sure. Again, part of the problem is that with regard to Airbnbs, I found a number of communities that license B&Bs or regulate them, but very few had prohibitive language. Those that did prohibit the Airbnbs had regulations sort of like ours. If it's not listed as a permitted use, then it is automatically prohibited. In my examination of the topic, I think we need to write it out that it is prohibited. Because amazingly, many judges, when looking at these cases, if you're a property owner that lives in the dwelling with some of these rentals, have been ruling against some municipalities.
I think I could understand judges who are not familiar with necessarily individual zoning statutes don't understand that if it's not affirmatively said, it doesn't mean that it's not,
So
it's denied.
I think we really need the language in here to address it.
well, yeah, I mean, I guess to prohibit Airbnbs, we're gonna have to come up with a definition of what we mean by an Airbnb, right? I mean, I'm not sure I understand. I was under the impression that an Airbnb was you rented your house in its entirety. In other words, I go to Florida for 30 days in the winter. While I'm away, I rent my house in Orange for 30 days. I thought that was,
Airbnbs can be for one night.
they can't.
One night, one room.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is?
It's usually
So
one
it's just
night.
like a hotel then? It's
Yes.
just-
Right.
it's
And in
renting a
fact,
ho-
it's advertised that way.
That's why there's concern over our existing regulations. If you read through those first 4 topics,
But
you may argue,
don't we solve the problem, though, by virtue of the fact that the owner has to occupy the property?
that happens with Airbnb.
It does. Really?
It can.
Could be.
I've seen Airbnbs where they'll live in, right the next room, share kitchen, everything. They rent out a single bedroom for 1 or 2 nights.
And is that what we're looking to prohibit?
Yes, I thought that was.
Well, not just that, I don't think, right? Rent.
Right. But the way our regulations are structured now, to
Right.
rent any room in your home, it must be owner occupied.
And, well.
So that's what we permit right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between?
Has to be the day,
these
the
daily,
duration.
weekly rentals and that monthly rental, that 30 days?
Seems to be the break point.
That's what court cases are leaning towards,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the discussion I had with Vinnie. He's going to look at it more. So
Okay.
hopefully I'll have some more information for you at the next meeting.
I think it's a discussion worth having. I think the traffic concerns, meaning the parking concerns, are going to be, significant.
Actually, Paul,
Well,
the biggest.
those
The
are
biggest
still
concerns that we,
regulated, right?
the biggest concerns that we get, or the complaints that we get from residents, isn't so much the traffic, it's that there's strange people in the neighborhood, we don't know where they're from. We're concerned about the safety of our homes. And so, because there's no mechanism to track that, so That's been the biggest complaint with regard to these rentals, because there's a constant stream of different
Different people.
individuals and different people coming into the residential neighborhood.
So you think the answer to the question is ultimately going to be directed to the length of time?
It may be, that's what I'm looking at, but
Yeah.
I think we have to hear it from Vinnie. So I think Vinnie has to take a look at it.
But that, I just want to be clear, just to give Vinnie some guidance. I mean, what we're looking to regulate is, we don't want transient occupants
Yes.
in
No,
single-family
he
residential.
knows that.
Being defined as less than 30 days.
Yeah,
That's what we're getting at.
that's what we're
Yes.
looking at.
I think so.
So in other words,
We had a discussion.
yeah, the letting of rooms and/or furnishing of board in a dwelling unit to a total of not more than 4 persons, subject to the following. So even those, that probably would have to be amended to put a
Well,
duration
now
of
you're
at least.
now you're changing a use that's already permitted, and that's okay to do that.
Yeah,
But we might also want to qualify that area, because we have had some issues with some what they call letting of rooms or boarding houses. And there has been a concern sometimes by the fire marshal. So I'd probably get his input too.
yeah.
Police department is, you got the police department as well? I think that.
Here?
Yeah, well,
No, I haven't referred this to any departments yet, but I can.
I think we should. Get more input.
Well, it might be helpful to have language a little more firmly in place that they could actually read and,
Well, but I think they all know.
or you're talking about just have them give us their ideas on the concept, or?
I think so. I mean, as you said, when you start to think about it, it's kind of a moving target. What exactly is an Airbnb? Is it the whole
Yeah.
unit?
I mean,
Is it the
and
whole
what are we
house?
looking to regulate?
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, I think what we're talking about is the
Daily
owner
and week-
occupant, but the daily rental, the transient
Daily or weekly
population less than
rentals,
30 days.
But
come
in
in.
any case, the owner has to be in occupancy,
That's correct.
in all cases. I mean, that's the way it is under our existing regulations.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this would be an enforcement nightmare as well, potentially. Or do you just,
I've been approaching it, or I did
you
approach it.
respond to complaints.
I responded that it was not a permitted use and therefore prohibited, and that's how I've approached it. But I don't think I think we have to go further.
Well, but depending on exactly how it's configured now, it may be a permitted use.
I don't want to say that.
Yeah, right, well, yeah.
Again, I'm approaching it that it's not listed as a permitted use, so it's
Therefore-
therefore prohibited.
No, but I think you've identified the right section. Whatever
Yeah,
we
I
do
think
about
so.
Airbnb,
I think we
it's
have
got
to
to be
do-
consistent with
I think we have to
what's
do
in the
something
regu-
about that section.
All right. All right, so you'll continue to work with Vinnie
Yes.
on it, try to...
I'll try to do it by the
Paul, I
next
mean,
meeting.
do you think he should have Paul should have a conversation with the,
Police.
I mean, personally, I think it's worth, a conversation worth having to make sure that the police are on board, just to get their input as well as the fire.
I think the fire marshal is much more attuned to this because he has actual fire code regulations with regard to the letting of
Right.
rooms. But I will run it by the police department too.
Okay.
I mean, those fire code regulations are they're binding, no matter what the zoning regulations say.
Yeah,
Right.
the only problem is
Right.
monitoring these situations.
Well,
Well, they're gonna-
enforcement's another issue, but
So,
you
you know,
also brought up.
sometimes these things are out there and they don't know about them, so
But I mean, if
maybe-
you were advised, you could alert the fire department,
Yes,
and then they could take action.
but we may want a mechanism to record these,
Yeah.
to find out where these things are. Doesn't necessarily have to be it might be a license, but it might be another,
No,
some sort of. other
licensing
manner.
means now that we're
Partial.
condoning them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we do.
Under our terms.
Right.
We would.
We would. I think we got a preliminary question as to whether or not we're allowing Airbnbs, and to that end, I think we should get the input of the two.
But what I'm saying is, even if it's not an Airbnb,
Right,
even if it is a permanent rental,
yes.
for up
Well,
to 4.
permanent being more than 30 days, is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
That's correct. Under our regulations, you're able to rent to 4 individuals. And I think what triggers the fire code is when you go from 3 to 4 individuals, the fire marshal it kicks in with the fire marshal's office. So we may want to have some sort of, if it's not a licensing, maybe a registering of these locations.
Or maybe not allow more than 3.
That may be an alternative, but I think we have to look at it closer.
Okay. In any event, you've indicated that it should be an affirmative language as to what we intend to do.
Yes.
And I think that makes a lot of sense, instead of inferring it from the negative.
right,
Have
let's-
something for the next meeting.
Keep it on our agenda then. All right,
That's all I have.
that's it? All right. Okay, then that concludes our first 5 items. Item number 6 is the site plan application for property known as 109 Boston Post Road, submitted by Siram James for Katrina Derikovich and Lisa Irby.
What's that?
Proposal is to operate a preschool with an associated play
commercial
area
C2.
and youth center. The applicant is here.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Gordon with Codispodian Associates. I'm representing the applicants here, as primarily known as Kids Wonderland. We submitted application and statement of use for a preschool, early child education, tenant fit-up in C2 district. It's a permitted use. And what they are looking to do is, if you're familiar with the back of the Orange Town Center, which many of us are not, been here for years and never drove back there till this, but behind the Munsons, there's a flat area that they have some picnic tables. They are looking to enclose an area that's about 25 to 30 feet wide by 55 to 60 feet long, and they would put a play structure in there. They have not firmed up exactly on the size of the play structure yet, but it would be something along the lines like this. And that's what determines the size of the area, because you have a certain amount of clearances that you require from that.
Between the playground apparatus
And
and
a
the
fence, and a fence, right. We've talked to Lori a little bit, Remick, she's the one who kind of works this out. You have suite 8 and 9 in the building there. They are taking the back half of this, that's the rear of the old Barnes and Noble section. And they will be adding another door, so they have the primary access that's required by the building department. The idea of the play area being here is that they will go through the corridor, out the door in the back of the building, and then we're going to be adding a sidewalk highlighted in red, and that'll take them right to the play area. That is, we had talked about some other options, relocating some of the parking area and whatnot, and putting it adjacent there, but the comments that came back from the sanitarian's office is that they would rather have it off to the side, otherwise it might feel like it's in the parking lot. That was Lori's comment. So over here is out of the way. We would look to relocate the trash area away from that to get that far away, and we're basically considering fencing along this line, something simple. When I came for the sign-offs, I guess we determined that right now you do get a little trash from the picnic area that blows off the site there, so fencing it in would certainly preclude that from being an issue. So primarily, it's a tenant fit-up. It's adding a sidewalk, so we have a route, a secure route from the play area, from the unit itself to the play area, and to relocate the trash area. So not much more to add on that. Again, it's similar that you have over at Bright Horizons and Holly Hill. It's a same commercial district with a same type of facility, so we have others in town already.
Jeff, just a couple of quick questions. Were you contemplating any regrading in that play area? 'Cause
There
that-
might have to be
That does roll off a little
Troughs.
bit there.
It does roll off a little bit at the end there. There might have to be a little bit of leveling, because they're going to be most likely the rubber tiles put down below the surface there, so there'll be some very, very slight work that's done in order to do the installation.
Okay. And the only other concern I had is that driveway to the rear. That's, I'm sure you're
Seen
aware,
better
it's already
days.
narrow. And it necks down further as you get to the
Yeah.
rear. I really think it'd be a good idea to add a stop sign or a speed bump or something
Yeah.
to
Tom,
slow
what-
down that traffic.
Tom, what are you talking about, going behind the playground, is that?
Well, it's a 90-degree turn from that driveway as you come out there, and I think what he's looking for is to make sure that you don't have somebody whipping around the corner.
Can you show me on the map?
Particularly on the way out. The visibility's miserable.
As you come around here and you make that turn, this is a very sharp turn there.
Okay.
So somebody coming out here, somebody coming in there, there is potential conflict there.
Oh.
I think that they can throw some paint down on a stop sign. There's a new
Particularly
owner of the
on the way
building.
out.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. I
There's
thought you
vir-
meant, okay,
There's virtually no sight line
You're talking about right here?
right here.
where the word landscaped is, right? Huh,
Well, right at the actual corner,
right here.
yes. Exactly.
It's an awkward alignment,
It is.
because it's almost like an obtuse angle
Well,
rather than a
it's,
radius.
it's an interesting parcel.
I drove back there myself today, and I see what you mean.
It's a new owner of the building. I think that the paving is kind of tired, and he's going to be looking at some significant repaving
So
sooner rather than later.
So the stop sign would be position, if that's, are you suggesting a stop sign, or
I'm suggesting a stop sign at the back corner of the building,
on, that would stop cars traveling east?
traveling east. And then a speed bump,
Yeah.
maybe 25 feet from the northeast corner on the east side of the building.
Yeah, well, that, that would have to run that by the building owner. Like I said, if you saw that paving is all alligator and whatnot there anyway, so speed bumps,
But even if you did a portable speed bump, anything to slow traffic.
I concur, especially with children not too far away.
On that same line, the offices are gonna be on the east side of the building, but the play area is gonna be on the west side.
Right, so there's going to be cameras and monitors within the building, but there'll also be staff out there with the children.
Is it that the kids are going to walk outside of the building?
They walk,
Yes.
So,
they'll walk in the corridor of the building and then out, and then you have a new sidewalk here, and then they're right at the playground.
So they're not gonna be walking outside on the north, on the
Where it
north-
says landscaped on our
Yes.
map.
No.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay, I appreciate it. That's good information.
They'll come out the building right about here, and then just have that short.
Yeah, no, I was gonna be concerned if they were gonna be outside on the area called landscape.
No.
Without some kind of baluster,
No.
some kind of,
Railing or
Yeah.
some kind of,
so the internal corridor of the building, is that public space?
Yeah, that's common space. That feeds the second way out for Suite 5, Suite 6, Suite 7.
yeah, so Suite 9 accesses that
Right.
common area.
Right.
and when they come out, they're going from the offices to the play area, as you said, they're coming out of that entranceway right to the play area?
Yes.
Good, okay.
About 30 feet away.
Yeah, but then at no time, I guess what I'm trying to get to is at no time are they in the parking lot?
No, correct. And that was Ms. Remick's
Yeah, I understand.
question. Yeah.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Yes. Okay, I remember for both of those other ones, especially Holly Hill.
And we did run it by the departments for their sign-offs, so.
Jeff, and this is a permitted use under 38349L.
It's a school,
School.
under schools. And again,
That's what's in,
you have two other existing uses, very similar in same zone. Bright Horizon.
Lambert,
You have the one, Lambert,
Lambert in the Post Road.
right, and then you have the one off of Silverbrook.
Okay. No, I wasn't disagreeing with that, I just wanted to confirm this.
No, I was, because that's the first phone call I asked Paul about, is under
Right.
what regulation do we do that, and that was where we have it.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Is that back parking lot underutilized? Or,
Well, if you take a look at the calculations for parking, being that you've revised your parking calculations, you do have an overage. But I think that perhaps at some future time, it would be interesting to get the owner of the facility to revisit his parking area.
And they're moving that dumpster from the current location to the alternate dumpster location?
That's the plan, to get them away from the play area.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And also to make sure that I don't have the truck traffic servicing it by that walkway.
And the picnic tables would be out of there, I guess?
Yeah, there'll still be room for picnic tables right between them,
Okay,
because that comes out the rear of Munson's.
all right.
and about how many feet from the back wall of the proposed fence to the rear property line?
The back wall of the,
That rectangular enclosure, right?
the back property line?
Yeah.
Back property line is somewhere in Never Land, it's way off that survey map.
The distance to the west property line from the west side of the playground enclosure.
I think I'm somewhere around
20 feet?
probably 15 to 20 feet. I think you have a 12-foot structural requirement. The building is exactly, or maybe 2/10 of a foot over there off the, meets your setback by about 2/10 of a foot right here.
Yeah, it's 13.
12.66 feet and 12.32 feet, according to the old as-built.
Does the playground apparatus need to comply with the side yard?
Well, it would.
It would,
Yeah, it'd be well beyond 20 feet.
okay.
It's a 12-foot side yard.
Jeff, I saw the fence. Fence is pretty, is the fence that you showed us would be around the play area?
Yes.
Does that fence have to be reinforced at all because it's in a parking out, you know?
Well, it's not in the parking area. That was part of the deal, to get it out of the parking area.
So no cars are gonna be in that area? They
No.
don't go up that area of the property?
Right.
Right. Okay, good.
Yeah, you can't.
Can't drive
I
back
checked
there.
it out, you can't drive a car back there. I mean,
All the way around the building.
yeah, you cannot drive a car around the building.
This hasn't been a short process, but initially, the first time that the play area was not there was more towards the rear of the property. But what we tried to do in steering the applicant was for them to first contact the state of Connecticut, because they have the ultimate say in terms of the layout. And once the state of Connecticut said your layout looks okay, then it went to the health department, and I think there was more of a recommendation from the health department to get it out of the back. You know, you don't have kids
Get it away from the-
crossing over the parking area.
Get it away from
Even
the
though the
parking area.
state said it would be all right. Our local health department said, we'd rather have it on the other side.
Yeah, I
of the
mean, you
building.
take a look at the church on the green there. They had the playground on the other side of a parking lot. It's not what we want to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, what do we think? Anybody? I think Tom makes some good suggestions. I think that makes a lot of sense to slow the traffic down around the building. Because I did drive that today, and it is a very hard corner to negotiate when you're heading out of that parking lot back toward the post road.
Yeah, and I think his further suggestion, or maybe it was Jeff's, that it's temporary in nature. Those things last for, I mean, that's not temporary as it doesn't stop after a period of time. They'll accomplish the same thing, and I don't, with no problem for the, it doesn't have to be a permanent, macadam or concrete bump, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, I mean, whatever they do to improve the parking lot, they could still include a speed bump.
The speed bump doesn't have to be a permanent, I've seen them over in East Haven by the shore. They put them down for the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, is what
That's what I'm trying to.
You can do that, or sometimes what you actually do is almost like a running track hurdle with a section of picket fence that is put out there, and it kind of requires people to maneuver around them. You go down Greenwich and some of those private roads, they have them all over the place, and it really,
Slows down.
yeah, I mean, traffic calming is the cobblestones. My only concern about speed bumps is snowplows wreak havoc with them, and people who don't know they're there hit them at 20 miles an hour, and they lose control of their vehicle sometimes. So something that's more visible.
But that's why they put up a sign that says speed bump.
Yeah. And the things I'm talking about are yellow. I mean, they're pretty bright.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
whatever you please.
good. All right, so, are we prepared to make a motion on this
Yeah.
application? Or do we want to see a revised plan with these in place, or just leave that to be handled administratively, I think? Right.
Yeah. I mean, Paul, you feel comfortable in handling it administratively?
Yeah, I can.
I mean, we're talking about a
do that.
speed bump and a stop sign. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we
And a
approve.
stop bar.
Yeah, right.
The pavement marking is called a stop bar.
I think additional markings on both sides.
There.
Yeah.
But does it include a stand-up sign, or what are we looking for?
I really don't know.
I think
to me-
we're looking for a stop sign.
Yeah,
We're looking for a speed bump, and maybe some additional signage to delineate that speed bump, or maybe slow children.
all right, well, let's be specific about that, so that there's, no misunderstanding.
We can have a caution speed bump sign.
All right, I mean, we were talking about a speed
It
bump.
should be signed.
A sign indicating that there's a speed bump there, as well as a stop sign, not just the markings in the street.
In my mind, the most critical signage would be the stop
Stop
sign
sign,
as
yeah.
you're leaving.
Yeah. Okay,
And the speed bump can be temporary, so they can take it up in the winter when you have the snowplow season.
The speed bump is on the east
East side.
side of the building?
Right.
Okay.
And that's where the stop sign is going to go too, as well, right?
That's on the north side.
Yeah,
Hang on.
the north side of the building.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it.
All right. So let's, you were going to proceed with a motion?
Yeah, I was going to do a motion to approve the site plan application for the property known as 109 Boston Post Road, submitted by Serum, I guess, James, for Katrina, oh boy. Derikov? Anybody helping out there? Nobody? Okay.
I did it once, Paul, I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, okay, and Lisa Irby. The proposal is to operate a preschool with the associated play area and youth center, with the understanding that the conditions are the placement of a stop sign on the north side of the building, northeast side of the building, and the placement of at least a temporary speed bump with signage to delineate where the speed bump is and that also is going to be on the north side of the building.
And it's subject
East-
to,
oh, east side. You want it on the east side?
East side.
East side for the speed bump over here? Okay, so
So
the
the-
speed bump will be on the east side of the building.
Why don't we say design in accordance with the zoning officer, so that it doesn't necessarily have to be temporary, it can be permanent as well.
That's fine.
so ultimately, they'll submit a revised site plan
Okay?
showing those. Okay, so we have a motion to approve on those, on the terms stated. Do we have a second?
Second.
Can't second
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, very good. All right, we have items, two public hearings tonight. Item 7, well, I'll let Paul read the legal notice. We'll do it that way.
Okay.
You have the legal notice, Paul?
Yes, I do. to appear one time on Tuesday, February 4, 2020, and one time on Tuesday, February 11, 2020, the Orange Town Plan Zoning Commission, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, February 18, 2020, at 7:30 PM at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following: special permit application for property known as 653-663 Orange Center Road, submitted by SD Woodruff and Sons LLC. A special permit is requested per section 383-34B of the Orange zoning regulations. The proposal is to locate a smoothie drink bar in the space that was previously retail, parenthetical 740 square feet, close parenthetical. There are no proposed site changes. A site plan application has also been submitted. A petition to amend the Orange zoning map submitted by Paul Kaplan, not me, and his assigns to amend the Orange zoning map. The change property known as 48 Boston Post Road, owned by Lowe's Home Centers, Inc., Site 621, from Commercial C1 to Light Industrial LI1. A copy of the notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 31st day of January, 2020.
Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, first item is the special permit application submitted by SD Woodruff for the Orange Convenience Center. Is the applicant in attendance? Yes.
Hello, thank you. I'm Brian Dodona with SD Woodruff & Sons LLC.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Daddona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you, okay. We have any questions for the applicant? I mean, this was originally submitted as a site plan application. And in reviewing what the permitted uses are, uses permitted by special exception in this LSC zone, we, I think, decided that this had to come under a special use application. It was not permitted as of right, clearly. So that's what brings us here to this point tonight. So the applicant has submitted a revised, I'm not sure if it's revised or if this is the initial statement of use.
A new application, that's a new
It's a new
statement.
application.
And that's a new statement of use.
All right, where he says that small-town nutrition and incoming business is to be located at the Orange Shopping Center, 663 Orange Center Road, Unit 1, Orange. Will serve healthy smoothies, energy teas, and protein coffees in a takeout, over-the-counter format. Lounge-style seating will be available to customers as to provide an uplifting and positive environment. So that's the statement of use. And I think as an initial item, an initial hurdle to get over is the intended use one that's permitted by special use? And the application is brought under 383-34B, and I'm sure you've all taken a look at that section. And you've all, I just read what the intended use is. So, that's I think the key determination is whether we think this use is permitted by special use exception. I think otherwise there's no change to the building in any way. I think we decided last week that we had no concerns regarding parking.
No.
And we probably weren't all that concerned about traffic. I mean, I think this use is distinguishable from, for example, a Dunkin' Donuts, where you could expect a much higher, probably, in our experience, a much higher level of,
Well, under general consideration, size and intensity of proposed use on the proposed lot. Well,
Yeah.
there's no issue with this.
So, and if we were to approve this, I don't think that would prevent us from from not approving the Dunkin' Donuts application or the Starbucks
intensity.
application because of the intensity. So I don't think we're setting any precedent that we would, that we would be faced with later on. The only question or one question I have, Paul, in the application itself, there's page 4, where you provide current names and mailing addresses of all adjacent property owners, including those across the street. That tells me that notice to the adjoining owners is required. Is
No,
that
it's-
not the
it-
case?
It is not the case.
I'm glad to hear it. Okay. Then maybe we should improve our application
Okay.
to exclude that. I looked at it quickly, I didn't see. Yeah, that's
it.
nicely
Take
done.
it off the application. Done.
I didn't see anything in the regulations that required
No, it's not required.
that the adjoining property owners be notified.
required.
We only are required on what, a
Subdivision.
subdivision, and that's it.
That's it.
Not even a zone change,
No,
as
we're
we
talking
mentioned
about-
before,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to add?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. I don't know, are we satisfied that the use is such that it meets 383-34, the intended use meets 383-34B?
Yes, I think it falls under the context of, a not dining establishment where you're not sitting down, taking
Smoothie and-
out, take your smoothie and go.
You are
Or
going to have
stay
a
if you
couple of
want.
tables, right?
Lounge-style seating.
Lounge if you wish.
Uplifting and
Yeah,
positive
okay.
environment.
You can, but it's not
Right.
something that you,
Not
it's geared to.
primary.
Yeah, it's not primary.
It's what?
It's not primary.
What's
Yeah,
not primary?
It's not a sit-down restaurant.
It's not, yeah, exactly. Most people will take their smoothie and go.
To the,
Right,
to the
that's
gym.
sort of the problem I'm alluding to, but,
Right.
Well,
but
We don't
again.
know how many are gonna stay or how many are gonna go. We
Right.
don't know. So we can,
I mean, I think
Make
it
a
fits in as
conclusion.
close as possible to
Yes.
B.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem with that.
All right. I don't know that we have any other issues.
No, but
Yeah.
we should do it by the numbers to go through the considerations for a special use, right?
Yeah.
So the size and intensity of the proposed use, does anyone have concerns about that in this location? No. The effect of the proposed use on any adopted comprehensive plan of development? No. The capacity of adjacent and feeder streets to accommodate peak traffic loads, any traffic considerations for the 700-square-foot store?
No.
No.
Which section you in?
383,
383, 136. The effect upon property values and appearance, I think that a occupied store is better than an unoccupied
I
store.
mean, we have, not yet anyway, no testimony to the contrary, so.
Correct. The number, location, arrangement of off-street parking and loading, we reviewed that, and there's more than enough spaces for this
Yeah.
use. The fire and police protection, well, they might prefer the Dunkin' Donuts, but we prefer the smoothies.
Do we have all of the department?
All the department heads have signed off,
Have
yeah.
signed off?
Yes.
Okay.
No impact on the water and sewer, and the buildings hasn't changed.
All right. No, I'm comfortable that we're not, that we aren't running afoul of any of those considerations. All right, do you have anything further to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on this application? Okay, no input from the public. Does the commission think we have all the information we need in order to decide the application, or do we need something more?
Close.
All right, then is somebody prepared to move to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
All right. We have a motion to close the public hearing. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special permit application for a property known as 653 to 3, Orange Center Road, submitted by SD Woodruff and Sons LLC to issue a special permit under Section 383-34B of the Orange zoning regulations to permit a smoothie drink bar in a space that was previously retail.
All right, we have a motion to approve the application.
Second?
It's been seconded. Any further discussion? All right, in that case, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no opposed. All right, very good, thank you. All right, the last item on our agenda is the petition to amend the Orange zoning map submitted by Paul Kaplan, not this Paul Kaplan,
Does he?
and his
Himself?
assigns. To amend the Orange zoning map, change property known as 48 Boston Post Road from commercial C1 to light industrial LI1.
Good evening.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Chairman, members of the commission. My name's Kevin Kersaden. My office is at 3 Lafayette Street in Milford. I'm here tonight with Mr. Paul Kaplan of Kaplan Enterprises, the applicant. The,
Could I have the spelling of your name, please?
yes, Curseaden.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are here tonight for a zone change. This is 48 Boston Post Road. Right now, it's currently zoned C1, Commercial 1 District. It is one of the last properties as you head towards, out of town towards West Haven. It's on the right-hand side if you're heading towards West Haven. It's a little over 15 acres. The most recent previous user was Lowe's. It's owned by Lowe's. Mr. Kaplan is representing a client that is a contract purchaser of the property. And what's driving the request is the use that contract purchaser requires is a warehouse distribution use. And the warehouse distribution use is not allowed in the C1 zone. We had a conversation, probably, I think I had one or two conversations with the town attorney, Vin Marino. I think Mr. Kaplan has spoken with some city officials, including Mr. Marino himself. We had originally thought of coming in for a zone text change with the C1, making that warehouse distribution allowed in the C1 zone versus changing the zone itself. And when you examine that, you always have to think of, well, what's the second and third order effects of doing something like that? And that would have implications across town with all the C1 zone, any property that's in the C1 zone across town. So the cleanest way to do this was to just request a conversion to the LI1. There is an LI1 property adjacent to it. There's C1 over there, there's C2 over there. In some conversations with the town attorney, he had mentioned that potentially the town or the commission may in the future look towards changing this whole little corner, either rezoning it to LI or your plan of conservation of development talks about, which was from 2015, talks about potentially combining business and commercial zones in that area, maybe coming up with a new zone. So, but the opportunity is here with this applicant that's driving this particular request. And when you look at a zone change, you're looking at what, your criteria. You have full discretion as a commission to decide whether you want to approve it or not. And your criteria is, or include, is it in accordance with the plan of conservation of development? And is it in accordance with the zoning regulations? So I would submit that it's in accordance with both because you have LI zoning regulations and you have one adjacent, a property adjacent to it. And so we're not asking for a new zone or new regulations to be put into place. And the Plan of Conservation and Development talks about combining uses over in this section or rezoning it to have, LI and business and commercial into one type of zone. So,
Yeah, I looked at the Plan of Conservation and Development, and I saw just a couple of general sort of
right.
of support for the change, but I mean, if I may, just.
Sure.
On page 61, it talks about, the Plan of Conservation and Development. It talks about the northern part of town being the living area and the southern part of town being the economic area. So I think, this remains consistent with that concept, where it's changing from commercial to industrial. But still, our adherence to that formula has resulted in stable and attractive residential neighborhoods separated from business areas which provide jobs, goods, and services, and tax base and support the community. So, the recommendation is that we continue with that overall philosophy. I think this is not inconsistent with that. The proposal is not inconsistent with that.
Correct.
The only other thing I noticed, there's a statement on page 78 that says Orange will continue to promote a vibrant economic base and continue to encourage well-planned development in the economic area. So I think, again, this concept is consistent with that. I didn't see anything else, anything more specific, but I didn't see anything, contrary.
Correct.
To what you had.
That's right.
There's also an underlying concept of repurposing existing structures and/or outmoded uses in the commercial zones.
Right, trying to upgrade the post road.
Right. And
Right.
the traffic pattern along Route 1 drops off dramatically past Bull Hill Lane as you approach West Haven. So it's not, especially with no frontage, it's not really a viable commercial
Right.
site.
Yeah,
Lowe's only got by for a few years
Because
because
it was
they were a
Lowe's.
destination.
yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And I think historically, our experience has been light industrial traffic is lighter than C1 or C2 traffic. So I think we're gonna, not that there'll be an impact, but if anything, it's probably gonna be improved.
Got to be better than Lowe's, and in its heyday, it was Lowe's, and there was some other big attractor up there before the Edge. The Shaw's, yeah.
The
there was another-
grocery store.
Right, it's got to be less than that,
Yeah.
significantly less than that.
Well, significantly less in terms of vehicle trips, but when a site plan comes in, we
Yeah, we're
have
gonna look at
to
it.
be looking at the truck traffic.
Which will be significantly higher.
Yeah, and depending on how they purpose, whether they repurpose the building or build a new building, we'll have to be aware of the buffer between that and the residential neighborhood while it's in New West Haven. There's still people, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
very kind of you.
just saying.
I'm sorry to interrupt, okay?
No, that was another good point that you had brought up, Mr. Chairman, and the commission about the setting the foundation for economic development, which is also part of one of the tenets of the Plan of Conservation and Development, and one of the important tasks of the commission and community development. My understanding of what the building is not going to change except for maybe minor cosmetic changes to it, and that the traffic would be traveling out Carlson Road and then off to I-95 would be the intent. There is a timeline. It's under contract with some extensions. If it's possible for the board to close the public hearing and vote on it tonight, that would be greatly appreciated. The one other thing that you do have to do as a board is set
Effective date.
an effective date. And in this case, the current owner, Lowe's, has asked that that effective date not be until, it's going to be about 80 days after the date of approval, because they're asking for 60 days after the appeal period expires before before the effective date takes place.
Okay.
So that's really, pending your questions. Mr. Kaplan is here as well, if there's any questions for him.
Okay, questions?
Does the applicant anticipate submitting a site plan with the change of use?
Whatever is required by the town, if the zone change is approved and whatever their use is, what we're proposing, it would be an as-of-right use, If it's a site plan's required, that would just be an as-of-right site plan, then they would, because it is a change of use, then that would be required after the fact, yeah.
I didn't look at the uses in the LI one, but I assumed that this is permitted as of right.
Correct, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. It's pretty
All right.
straightforward.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the application? No, okay. All right, any further questions for Attorney Crusaden?
I just wanted to say that we made some referrals, all the required referrals to Long Island Sound Program, DEEP. Both regional planning agencies, we heard back from DEEP that there's no impact with regard to the Connecticut Coastal Management Act. And we also heard from the regional planning agency that there's no intermunicipal negative impact.
Any municipal department heads, or?
They don't usually
They're not
review
really
this.
consulted on this, okay.
And I would just like to submit for the record a stamp that shows it was submitted to the town clerk's office well in advance of the hearing as required by statute.
Okay,
So just give that.
good, yeah. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, does anyone, do you think we need additional information in order to decide the application? Anybody? Then in that case, is someone prepared to make a motion that we close the public hearing?
So moved.
All right? We have-
Second.
We have a motion to close the public hearing. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, public hearing is closed. Comments?
Well, I think that, for previously stated reasons, that if Lowe's is going out, that repurposing this building to an industrial, an LI2 zone
LI1, I think.
LI1?
Yeah.
is a move in the right direction. It's the street, it's a parcel that has no frontage. If their primary traffic route's gonna be down Carlson Road past the old ABF trucking terminal,
It's not going to
And-
affect traffic on the post road
it's
at all.
not gonna affect traffic on the post road, and it is their most logical route to I-91.
95.
95.
95 and possibly 91, but
Yeah.
trying to save you there.
And it does abut
Another LI1
another
zone.
LI1 zone, so it's not like we're creating an island here.
No,
Right.
it's
Right.
Logical.
It's an acknowledgement of the parameters of that particular property does not lend itself to commercial, the way that was being used.
Right. All right, and we've identified some support in the plan of conservation and development for the idea, so. So with that in mind, sounds like we're ready to make a motion to approve.
Just real quick, Paul, is there any concern with an effective date so far down the road? We haven't really done that before.
I'm not quite sure because I've never experienced that. I don't know.
Well, the reason why it's so far down the road is because,
I know we have to notice it, so I think if we notice it, it should be okay.
if I'm Lowe's, I don't want my C1 zone to go away until I know this buyer has got what he
Closed.
needs and
Yeah.
closed, So I think that's what, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what the,
Yeah.
all right.
But we understand the reason, it's just we've never had
I-
it so far out in the future. and
I
it
think
might
as
be-
long as we notice it, we should be okay.
I don't see the issue, but,
I mean, it would make, you could see an issue if it was shorter than the required timeframe.
Right.
But,
yeah. Okay. So someone prepared to make a motion to approve this application?
Yep, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the petition to amend the orange zoning map submitted by Paul Kaplan and his assigns to amend the orange zoning map to change the property known as 48 Boston Post Road parenthetical, owned by Lowe's Home Centers, Inc., Site 621, close parenthetical, from C1 to Light Industrial LI1. We found it to be consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development in several different instances. And we would like an effective date of, I didn't do the math, but 80 days, 60 days, so I think it's 80 days, right, from today's date. Don't look at me like that, I don't know what
80
number.
80 days from today's date? Okay.
Is that's what they requested, right? He wanted 60 days from the appeal period ending.
So do 3 months minus 10 days.
Oh, that's good, I like that.
February, March, April, May,
Okay.
May 8th.
May 8th? All right.
May 8th should get it done.
Okay.
It's probably a Sunday. All right, so we have a motion to approve the application. Do we have a second? You're going to second it as well, Paul? Who's prepared to second the
I will
motion?
second that motion.
All right, Commissioner Smith. We have a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nobody's opposed. All right, that concludes our agenda.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded by somebody. Tom?
Tom.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.